Welcome, Sir Gerald.
Hi, Kevin. In fact, I wasn't actually Defence Secretary. I was Minister for International Security Strategy, which obviously is relevant to what we're talking about today.
A massive armored convoy hauling more than 7.2 tons of drugs worth $420 million thundered across the Arizona desert in broad daylight, brazenly challenging the full might of America. On the 12th of July, 19 war machines, shielded by over 80 ruthless gunmen, believed they were unstoppable. But what they didn't realize was that every movement was being tracked from the sky, every strategy already exposed, and a deadly trap was waiting deep inside the canyon. Where would such reckless arrogance lead them? One wrong second nearly shattered everything, transforming the desert into a blazing furnace. Comment number 1 and plunge into the heart-pounding story of the shocking ambush where America struck back with overwhelming force. Don't miss it. Watch now. At 11:12 in the morning on the 12th of July, the South Arizona desert trembled beneath the relentless thunder of engines. Through the shimmering heat waves, a steel serpent of 19 armored vehicles ripped across the sand, their glossy black bodies flashing under the blazing sun. This was no ordinary smuggling run. Hidden inside the reinforced compartments were 7.2 tons of drugs, enough to flood an entire city, enough profit to generate more than $420 million on the American market. Every vehicle was outfitted as if preparing for battle. The lead trucks mounted 50 caliber machine guns, their barrels sweeping from side to side like predators claiming their domain. American commanders understood that if this convoy succeeded within weeks, millions of fentanyl doses would pour onto the streets of Houston, New York, and Los Angeles, unleashing an unprecedented wave of deaths. This was no longer just a drug problem, it had become a direct threat to national security. The order was clear: SEAL forces would become the claws on the ground while the U.S. Air Force sealed the skies above. To prevent civilian and American casualties, the strike had to remain completely covert, leaving no trace and striking with the force of a sudden nightmare. Inside the cabins and cargo holds more than 80 gunmen sat with rifles slung across their chests, shouting into radios, convinced the road ahead had been cleared by cartel bosses in Mexico. The cartel's message was unmistakable. They could move boldly in broad daylight on American soil and nothing would stop them. But they were wrong. High above, hidden in the blinding glare, an MQ-9 Reaper drone circled at 26,000 feet, watching every move. Its thermal sensors locked onto each blazing engine block, every flicker of brake lights, and every frantic radio signal crackling across the desert. Every 8 seconds, the Reaper transmitted a data packet to the command center GPS coordinates. Speed real-time imagery, all tagged and cross-referenced. Not a single detail slipped through. Deep inside an underground command bunker, American officers watched in silence. A red alert flashed across the screen: target acquired. One officer allowed himself a faint smile. Their perfect plan. Just our perfect trap. The convoy pushed forward, tires grinding over gravel engines, roaring against the canyon walls. The cartel gunmen believed victory was only minutes away. Every detail was relayed to the command center at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, where 12 screens displayed a real-time 3D map of the kill zone. The convoy believed they were ghosts moving through the sand. In reality, they were completely surrounded. Speed, distance, even the weight of each load had been calculated and logged with second-by-second precision. For the cartel, the border lay just ahead. For the Americans, it was already sealed. They weren't driving toward safety. They were racing straight into a canyon chosen with surgical precision, where every escape route had been erased before the first tire ever touched the ground. In the 7 days leading up to the operation, SEAL recon teams crawled along the canyon ridges, marking firing positions with infrared paint visible only through specialized goggles. Beneath the sand, M18A1. Claymore mines were buried in staggered layers, their trigger wires snaking toward elevated hideouts. Seismic sensors were planted to detect every engine vibration from the cartel convoy. By the time the vehicles rolled in, the canyon had already become a cage 600 meters long, 40 meters high, and just wide enough for 2 vehicles to pass. High above an AC-13, OJ Ghost Rider gunship circled in near silence. Its 30mm and 105mm cannons were locked onto their targets, laser-guided rounds standing ready in the weapons bay. Along the canyon ridges, 160 SEAL operators lay prone, rifles, braced scopes glowing green in the brutal Arizona heat. Every variable had been calculated with precision: the choke point, the timing, the firing angles. But then the entire plan nearly unraveled. At 11:23 in the morning, as the first three vehicles rolled across the seismic line, a Claymore mine circuit failed to trigger. On the UAV feed, a red warning flashed inside the command center. At the same moment, a gunman in the second vehicle noticed an unusual glint on the cliff-face sunlight reflecting off the barrel of a suppressed rifle. His voice cracked over the radio, shouting in Spanish. In that instant, everything hung by a thread. If the alarm spread, 19 vehicles and more than 80 gunmen would unleash a storm of bullets into the canyon, trapping the SEALs inside their own ambush. A SEAL operator inches from the failed trigger circuit crawled forward beneath the blazing sun. With steady hands, he reconnected the line, restoring the circuit just seconds before the cartel's suspicion could harden into action. The glint disappeared. The warning faded. The trap sealed shut once again. The kill zone held firm. At 11:29 in the morning, the canyon swallowed the convoy. One by one, the armored vehicles slid into the narrow stone throat. Steel tires crunched over gravel. On the command screens at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, red dots aligned with perfect precision. The Serpent was trapped inside its cage. Hold. Hold steady. Then the first explosion shattered the silence. M18. 1. Claymore mines erupted like thunder, blasting thousands of steel balls into the lead vehicles. Tires were shredded in an instant. Windshields exploded into shards. Two gunners manning .50 caliber machine guns were ripped from their mounts, their bodies thrown like broken dolls into the dust. The echoes still hung in the air when night weapons chosen even for daylight struck. From 10,000 feet, the AC-13 OJ Ghost Rider unleashed its 30mm Bushmaster. Rounds poured down like molten rain, piercing armor, smashing cabins, and turning steel into fire. Chaos erupted instantly. Cartel gunmen scrambled from cargo holds, some firing blindly at the cliffs, others diving into dry gullies choking on smoke and dust. But the cliffs answered with fury. 160 SEAL operators opened fire in unison. M4, A1 rifles cracked with suppressed precision. Scar H rounds punched through armored doors. Every flash from below was answered by three from above. At the rear, a pickup truck tried to reverse, crashing into the vehicle behind it. Engines roared, metal twisted, but the escape route was sealed. From above, the shriek of a laser-guided round sliced through the air. It slammed into the weapons truck in the middle of the convoy, igniting a violent chain reaction. The explosion ripped through the canyon, engulfing three vehicles at once. Flames surged 40 feet high, the intense heat scorching the rock and forcing the SEALs to press lower into their firing positions. A small group of gunmen tried to regroup, hauling an RPG-7 launcher onto the roof of a Ford. The launcher wavered toward the ridge, but before it could fire, a 7.62mm round from an MP7 tore through the shooter's shoulder. The stray round detonated at their feet. The blast killed three instantly flaming shrapnel scattering across the ground. The canyon was no longer a road, it had become a furnace. In just 7 minutes, half the convoy was reduced to smoldering wreckage. Screams blended with bursts of automatic gunfire and the hiss of burning drugs leaking from ruptured containers. The brazen daylight assault had collapsed into a brutal slaughterhouse of sand and steel. The trap was sealed tight with no path to escape. The battle only grew fiercer. Follow to see what happens next. Do you support this war to destroy the cartel? If yes, comment number 2. If not, comment number 5. At 11:36 in the morning, the canyon had turned into a killing ground. Flames and smoke surged upward, a black column rising to blot out the sky. The acrid stench of burning drugs, chemicals, and diesel fused into a choking haze. The convoy, once a symbol of arrogance, was now a shattered battlefield. Cartel gunmen scattered in panic. Some tried to scale the rocky slopes, fingers clawing at the cliffs, only to be picked off by snipers above. Others gathered behind the wreckage of vehicles, blindly firing AK-47s toward the ridges. But every muzzle flash became a target. 2 SEAL snipers armed with MK-13 Mod 7 rifles dropped them one by one, their rounds striking true from more than 800 meters. The AC-130 J Ghost Rider roared again from above. Its 105mm cannon thundered the shockwave, rattling the canyon floor. A single round transformed the cartel's command vehicle into a crater of fire, killing at least 9 in seconds. The aircraft pivoted instantly, unleashing bursts of 30mm rounds to pin down the remaining survivors. By now, 12 of the 19 vehicles were either burning or completely immobilized. Steel, twisted tires shredded, and shards of glass scattered like ice across the sand. Temperatures near the wreckage soared beyond 120 degrees Fahrenheit, forcing cartel gunmen to abandon cover and sprint into the open. None made it more than 10 steps. Amid the chaos, a cartel lieutenant made a desperate break for freedom. He jumped into a Ford Raptor in the middle of the convoy, slammed the gas, and smashed through the wreckage. The truck roared forward, trailing flames behind it. For a brief moment, it looked as if he might escape. But above, an MQ-9 Reaper circled silently, releasing an AGM-114. Hellfire. The strike was instantaneous. A blinding flash erupted, followed by an explosion that vaporized the Raptor, leaving only a smoking crater and shrapnel raining down like bullets. Resistance weakened with every passing minute. Gunmen fired pistols and shotguns, weapons utterly useless against the overwhelming force from both air and ground. A SEAL team advanced from the eastern ridge, moving with cold precision, suppressed barrels flashing as they swept through the canyon. Short, controlled bursts cut down every target in their path. By 11:47 in the morning, just 18 minutes after the first explosion, the canyon was almost unrecognizable. Of the original force, more than 40 cartel gunmen were dead, their bodies scattered among the burning wreckage. 6 additional vehicles erupted in secondary explosions, the drugs inside igniting into toxic fireballs that turned sand into glass. The battle had become a massacre. The steel serpent that once roared with confidence was now nothing but a charred skeleton, its pieces scattered beneath towering clouds of black smoke. At 12:02 in the afternoon, the desert fell silent. The final bursts of gunfire faded into smoke, leaving only the crackling of burning steel. The canyon floor, once alive with the roar of 19 armored vehicles, now resembled a graveyard of twisted metal. Flames licked the shattered cabin's pools of melted rubber seeping into the earth. The air hung thick with the bitter stench of chemicals. Tons of drugs burned down to ash. SEAL Team 6 moved cautiously through the wreckage, rifles sweeping left and right, eliminating the last pockets of resistance. Orders passed in clipped whispers. Any gunman still holding a weapon was dropped without hesitation. Those who surrendered were bound hands, zip-tied faces pressed into the sand. When a U.S. Air Force commander pointed at the screen and declared, "We don't need a scalpel, we need a sledgehammer," he spoke for millions of Americans who have lost loved ones to fentanyl, a drug claiming more than 100,000 lives each year. The decision to strike did not come from anger, but from cold precision and unwavering discipline. 6 months of reconnaissance coordination across more than 20 agencies and hundreds of hours of tactical simulations led to this moment. In the end, the SEAL Team 6 and the United States Air Force obliterated the cartel's so-called invincible convoy. No mistakes, no civilian casualties, no warning. As the smoke finally cleared, the numbers came into focus. 53 cartel gunmen killed, 27 captured alive, all 19 vehicles destroyed or seized. Cold statistics, the kind only war produces. Of the 80 men who crossed the border that morning, not one escaped. The confiscated haul was staggering, more than 7.2 tons of drugs worth over $420 million. A convoy capable of poisoning an entire city. Agents from the Drug Enforcement Administration arrived after the battle, cataloging every container and sealing each sample as evidence. Mobile floodlights turned the canyon into a harsh white stage, revealing charred vehicle frames, scattered shell casings, and smoldering contraband. American casualties were nearly non-existent. Not a single American was killed. Only 2 SEAL operators sustained minor injuries, one from shattered glass, another from shrapnel, both swiftly evacuated by an HH-60W Jolly Green II. Compared to the devastation below, it was nothing short of a miracle. By 12:18 in the afternoon, the ceasefire was confirmed. The AC-130J Ghost Rider departed the area mission complete. The MQ-9 Reaper climbed back to higher altitude, continuing surveillance as reinforcements secured the perimeter. At the command center of Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, the final tally flashed across 12 screens: 53 dead, 27 captured, 19 vehicles neutralized, and 0 American losses. For the cartel, the canyon was supposed to be a road to profit. Instead, it became a grave. For America, this was more than a tactical victory. It was a statement, a warning that no matter how bold or reckless any force crossing the line would face overwhelming retaliation. As the midday sun beat down on the smoldering wreckage, the message was unmistakable. America doesn't just strike back. America obliterates. The ambush on the 12th of July in the Arizona desert was not merely a battle against a cartel convoy. It was a demonstration of what happens when patience defeats haste and precision replaces chaos. Ammunition trucks erupted in spectacular fireballs, leaving blackened craters where the formation once advanced. Fuel carriers burned steadily, thick columns of smoke rising into the dawn sky. Survivors fled on foot into the dunes, disorganized and leaderless. Some surrendered, others threw down their weapons and disappeared into the desert. The once invincible convoy had been wiped out without a trace. On the American side, casualties were minimal. The defensive net precision strikes and overwhelming firepower stopped the assault long before it could get close. From the first seismic sensor signal to the final shot from the AC-130J Ghost Rider, every move was calculated to the meter and timed to the second. The near disaster of a faulty trigger circuit and the brief moment of suspicion inside the convoy only made the outcome more remarkable. Even when perfection faltered, American forces adapted within seconds, proving why they are among the most dangerous and disciplined in the world. The final tally spoke through undeniable numbers. 53 cartel gunmen killed, 27 captured alive, 19 vehicles neutralized, and more than 7.2 tons of drugs seized. Not a single American life was lost. A warning that anyone bold enough to call their plan perfect when facing America will meet only one outcome: a perfect trap. The story of the cartel's defeat quickly became a powerful reminder of the difference between illusion and reality. The cartel believed their plan was flawless. 19 war vehicles, more than 80 heavily armed gunmen, a carefully calculated route, and a perfectly timed patrol window. But in a fleeting moment, it all turned to ash. The MQ-9 Reaper, silent at 7,000 meters with infrared sensors, transmitting data every 8 seconds, exposed the entire so-called perfect plan. The SEAL team, waiting patiently in the mountains for 36 hours with claymores, sniper rifles, and other weapons, transformed the Arizona desert into a deadly box. These details are more than technical descriptions. They are a declaration. America relies not only on firepower, but on intelligence, discipline, and absolute coordination. Instead, the desert proved the opposite. Precision planning and cutting-edge technology turned that mass into chaos, and chaos into destruction. What they believed was a display of strength became their greatest defeat. For Washington, the operation served as confirmation. SEAL forces working alongside the United States Air Force performed exactly as intended, proving American forces could destroy even the largest armored threats within hours. For the cartel, it was a warning that no amount of numbers or reckless assaults could stand against modern firepower. The capture of key lieutenants and the destruction of hundreds of millions of dollars in cartel goods dealt a crippling blow to their network. For the cartel, the myth of invincibility at the border shattered in less than 30 minutes. For America, it proved that true power lies not in firing first, but in waiting for the perfect moment, then striking with such speed and force that the enemy has no chance to respond. This ambush will be studied in tactical manuals for years to come, a textbook example of intelligence coordination and overwhelming firepower. The surviving stragglers carried that message with them. As daylight spread across the desert, it revealed the full scale of the victory. Black smoke rose in thick columns visible for miles. Scattered survivors stumbled through the dunes, hunted by patrolling MQ-9 Reaper drones. American units held their ground armored vehicles lined in formation weapons ready for whatever came next. The battlefield belonged to them. The convoy was gone. The message to the world was unmistakable. This wasn't just a skirmish, it was a demonstration. Against overwhelming planning, precision, and coordination, no force built on chaos could prevail. The desert had spoken, and its message was final try once, and there won't be a second chance. The Arizona Desert Ambush delivers a profound lesson. Meticulous preparation and discipline are the keys to confronting seemingly impossible challenges. No matter how formidable or confident the adversary, like the Cartel Convoy, with 19 armored vehicles and more than 80 gunmen, the precise coordination, sharp intelligence, and rapid adaptability of elite American forces transformed arrogance into catastrophe. This lesson reminds us that true strength lies in patient strategy and decisive action at exactly the right moment. And you will face unstoppable force. But what do you think? Did the cartel ever imagine the price they would pay for their arrogance? Do you believe ambushes like this can truly change the course of the war on drugs? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you never miss more gripping stories like this. Together we'll continue uncovering the hidden strategies behind these victories. See you in the next video.